Dungeons and Television, an indie fantasy anime by Junchukan Bonta that blew away every expectation I had. Coming from a small team, I was surprised at the quality that the first episode had. From the cozy art style, to the music, to the concept of the series, I fell in love with it all. So much so that I made a video going over the creation of the project. But there was a certain part of the anime that I briefly went over in that video. A part that deserves to be talked about more for its uniqueness and hard work. What I want to talk about is the opening for Dungeons and Television. The extra mile that Bonta went to for the segment to be entirely in cell animation is so inspirational, given that you don't see that style of animation much anymore. That, and the amazing song that accompanies the visuals, immersing you into the world of Dungeons and Television. In fact, it was the first thing that hooked me to this indie series the moment I clicked on the trailer. And to be completely honest, it was something I was not expecting from an anime with no studio behind it. The amount of effort that each member of the team had put into this project was what inspired me to make a video about it and pursue my goals. And while I would love to dive headfirst into talking about the opening, there is someone that I need to talk about first. A singer from another world. You open your eyes from what seems like a long nap. You are blinded by a bright light, and after a few seconds, your vision adjusts itself, trying to get a clear picture of your surroundings. Your ears are bombarded with the sounds of chatter. A strange scent fills the air you breathe. And when your mind comes to, a large white sculpture rests in front of you. And then something clicks in your mind. You realize something is wrong, very wrong. You can't remember where you are or how you got here. In fact, you can't remember anything at all. You can't recall a single memory, nothing except your name. Chika Haneta. That is her name, and she finds herself in a place very unfamiliar to her. In front of her rests a strangely shaped white sculpture. The Myomu sculpture inside of Sapporo Station in Hokkaido, Japan. There may be a special reason that Chika awoke in front of the sculpture, but we will come back to that later. She looks around to see what seems like hundreds of people making their way in the station. Many of these passerbys give strange glares towards her direction. Noticing the stares, she looks down at her attire and sees the beautifully designed kimono she's currently wearing, along with her handmade animal hide shoes, an outfit very different from what the people around her are wearing. As she collects herself and tries to make sense of this situation, she feels a void inside of her. A weird feeling that she forgot something important. As she was right now, Chika is just an empty shell of who she previously was, with no memories to define herself. It was the feeling of loneliness. Loneliness so intense, it made her want to scream. She was somewhere she had never been to, with no idea how she even got there. She was scared and alone. But there was also something else that dwells inside. Beyond her loneliness was the lingering sense of nostalgia. These strong feelings are what she thinks, the precious emotions of the Chika Haneta from the past. And she knows what she must do. She was going to find a way to regain her memories. But there was one giant question. How is she going to get any clues on getting her memories back? The Ainu people of Japan are a small ethnic group that resides mostly in Hokkaido. They are home to a unique and interesting culture with origins that date back thousands of years. But I won't be going into the history of the tribe. Instead, I want to focus on the traditional clothes that they wear. Most of the Ainu clothes were made from fibers from the bark of elm trees, called atush. Other times, they would be made out of animal hide for the colder seasons or made with different material entirely, like salmon or grass. They would tie a lengthy robe around the waist of the atush with a band and decorate it with special patterns. And the patterns are said to be a protective charm that warded off evil spirits, although not all of the Ainu believed it. But what these patterns can do is identify what village the wearer comes from. And these patterns would give Chika Haneta her first clue. The clothing of the Ainu has many similarities with the outfit Chika has. Looking closer, the design of her robes start to stand out. Some of the patterns on the Ainu clothing share very similar designs to the kimono that Chika wears, almost one to one. Discovering the shared patterns brings Chika to action, gathering as much information as she can. She asks the locals around town, researching traditional clothing and history books, anything that could bring her closer to solving her mysterious origin. Eventually, she arrives at a dead end. No one knows anything about her outfit. Sure, it bears a resemblance to the Ainu clothing, but the unique patterns and design on her kimono are something that no person can recognize or trace to any specific group. That clue Chika had gotten is starting to lead nowhere, and as time passed, her efforts would result in nothing. But Chika wasn't giving up. Maybe, just maybe, there might come a miracle that would help her get closer to her goal.
As always, thank you very much. There. Alright. Reply completed. Now that leaves one more thing. Needing to clean the kimono. The people that know about this kimono. When will you come find me? In the first place, is there really anyone who knows about me? What if they never show up? Even if I search the entire world, will anyone know about me? Oh, but if Mom and Dad are here, I will for sure find them. I don't have parents to begin with. What if I don't exist? Please, find me. Alone? Being alone. I don't like this. Someone help me. Anyone will do. Just please notice me. Please. Just remember. Being alone is difficult. You still have work to do. Always it's you crying like a child. I can hear someone's voice.
Don't cry about it.
My
You are my
memories
other after
from long ago? You still don't know this world. One day, you will realize that you are loved by many people. I'm sure of it. You must not disappear from here. Come, take my hand. Hang on. Don't go. Who are you? A dream. I must have fallen asleep somehow. What a strange dream. But I stopped trembling. I guess I've calmed down for now. Well, time to fold the kimono now. Here we go. Huh? What could this be? There's something sewn onto the back. This is... me and... my family?
The family photo, another clue that would help Chika greatly. Her parents wear the same kimono as Chika, giving her a thought. Maybe she had come from somewhere that is like this world. A parallel world. That would explain why no matter how much she had searched, she couldn't find any information about her origins. Her sudden appearance in front of the Myomu sculpture wasn't just random either. The sculpture happens to be created by world-renowned sculptor Kan Yasuda, who has made various artworks for museums, parks, and other facilities in Japan and around the world. The sculpture is just more than an easy-to-spot meeting place for friends and family. Myomu, or Key to a Dream, features a hole in the middle of itself that is said to be a portal that leads to another world. And somehow, Chika crossed that portal. But for a reason we may never know, Chika cannot return through that same portal. Then another thought came to her mind. If she were here in this world, then there may be a chance that her parents were here also. It's a small hope, but it was better than nothing. If she could find her parents, they could help Chika with regaining her memories, and possibly find a way to return back home. With whatever money and valuables she had left on her, Chika sets out on a journey across Hokkaido to find any clues that would help find her parents and bring her memories back. Along her trail, she crosses paths with a strange person. This person is very weird looking. Her dog-like ears and her fluffy tail makes for a strange appearance. Not to mention her out-of-place outfit. She calls herself Natsuku Komainu, a shrine guardian dog. She explains to Chika that while she was on duty, she had accidentally dozed off into a deep slumber for 500 years. By the time she had awoken, the shrine she had been responsible for guarding was demolished. And now she has set out to search for the lost gods of her shrine and her siblings. But this mission of hers would prove difficult. Because Natsuku has been sleeping for 500 years, her body does not move the way she wants it to. Even after taking a few years to retrain her muscles, travel is still almost an impossibility. With goals similar to Chika's, they both decide to help each other out. Soon enough, her money depletes. With no information about her parents and no money to continue on, she comes to the decision to head to Tokyo in search of work. However, not all of her time in Hokkaido was spent searching for her parents. In the 3 years Chika had been looking for clues, she had also gotten to know many people and make friends. And it was during these years that Chika had started discovering a bit more about herself. Fragments of her memories from the past would come to her. One of these fragments being her passion for music. While she wandered around Hokkaido, Chika would perform for people, singing and playing the guitar. It was a new experience, and she couldn't help her nervousness. But when it came to the act, she felt different. She poured her heart and soul into every word and every note that came out. As long as someone could hear her voice, she was going to give it her all. That was a promise she made to herself. Despite her amateurish skills, they were very dreamlike days to her. Arriving in Tokyo, Chika manages to secure a job as a company office worker and acquire a home to live in. After some time, a coworker introduces her to a rising trend in the online world: virtual YouTubers. And an idea came to mind. If she couldn't go out searching for her parents, what if the searching came to her? She could become a VTuber and use her talents to get so popular that her parents or anyone who knows her will find out about her. It was perfect. She could maintain a steady income while making efforts to find her parents. And on July 1st, 2018, Chika Haneta made her debut as a virtual YouTuber. From then on, she would continue her passion to sing and create music, garnering the attention of fans and growing her channel. Through her VTuber activities, she will find her parents and regain her memories, and if one day she can return to her hometown. And that is where we are currently at. There hasn't been much in terms of story progression since then, considering that there hasn't really been much updates to her lore recently. But I will have to bring some of you down to earth for a second. This might be obvious, but the journey I have told is fiction. And before you take out the pitchforks and riot, Chika has made it clear that her lore is just a story. In her words, Chika Haneta is fantasy fiction, a story being told through the medium of VTubers. Regardless of the story being fictional, I think that it is a very interesting story of searching for something that is lost. And there is a reason I started off this video talking about her lore. Chika voices the character C in the Japanese dub for Dungeons & Television. Not only that, she's also the singer for the opening. She's actually had a bit of history with Bonta in the past, most notable being their collaboration in the music video Earth of Calm Star by Niwa. While the opening may be about the journey of the OHG members in the world of Dungeons & Television, I think it's also about the journey of Chika Haneta in the search for her lost memories. If you don't know what I mean by that, then allow me to take a dive into the meaning of the Cornerstone of the Wind. Kaze no Ishizue, or the Cornerstone of the Wind, a song originally made for the anime, is composed by Chika Haneta and Miyahashi, with strings programming by Sakana Nakasako and mixing done by Leiki Ueda. Additionally, the music video features an illustration done by Runeo, which premiered on YouTube on September 13th, 2025. And before I get into the meaning of the song to Chika, there are some things that I find interesting when you connect this to the anime. The song features a number of instruments, but I want to focus on 3. The lute, the piano, and the drums. This is what I assume from the sounds anyway, since there isn't any official listing of the instruments used in the song. These instruments represent 3 different eras in the world of Dungeons & Television. The lute, representing the old era of swords and sorcery. The drums, representing the new era of television. And the piano, representing the current transitional era that bridges the new and the old together. The combination of these instruments would form the journey of C and the television crew as they set out to broadcast the deepest parts of the dungeon and popularize the concept of television in a world that still uses blades and magic. The other instruments in the song aren't just there randomly. I think they also represent a crucial aspect of Dungeons & Television, the hardships and challenges that the crew must face along their journey. Whether it be Lenny's film crew, the difficulty of delving deep into the dungeons, or the time and effort to spread television as far as possible. These hurdles are what the OHG members have to overcome to reach their end goals. And this journey is emphasized by the crescendo of the song, starting soft to symbolize the humble beginnings of the television revolution, the invention of Magitronics, and the founding of the Royal Broadcasting Guild. As the song progresses, it gradually gets loud, symbolizing the success in broadcasting the first images of the dungeons to the people above, affirming the idea of the television's usefulness beyond simple entertainment. At the end, it decrescendos, symbolizing the unknown journey that life has for the OHG members and the possible future of television in a world where swords and sorcery have not been abandoned. And the only way to know how the adventure unfolds is with time. This is Dungeons & Television's Cornerstone of the Wind. Ever since she opened her eyes on that very day, Chika Haneta has endeavored to reclaim her lost memories. Even now, she still makes efforts to search her own heart to find clues through music. This song is no different. It explores the many different thoughts and emotions she felt throughout her 3-year-long journey, so let's dive a bit deeper into the meaning of the lyrics. I will be using the English translation provided by Chika Haneta herself for this dive. Chika Haneta, transported to another world with amnesia and with no clue how she arrived, felt isolated. All she could do was feel the loneliness in her heart. Not knowing where she was, or even who she was, is devastating. This was before another faint feeling of nostalgia loomed somewhere behind that void. The faint memories and emotions of the Chika Haneta from her original world. This would be the sole reason why Chika still pushes on to unravel the mystery of who she was, holding that reason close to her, like it was precious. She sets out around Hokkaido, letting the winds guide her, to find clues that would uncover any information about Chika's past. Failure after failure, her efforts bear no fruit, and it seems almost hopeless, despair filling Chika's eyes, slowly coming to the realization that she may never know who she was, and may never find a way home. At the end of her wits, Chika breaks down, letting all of her built-up emotions release at once. There was no one she could ask for help, no one she could rely on. She was truly alone. She hated being alone. It was the worst feeling for her. She wished she could be anything or anywhere else but alone. A fish. Most fish in the world travel together, whether it's for protection, for efficiency, or even just to support each other in survival. They were never alone. And that is what Chika wished she was at her lowest point. And then something overpowered the darkness that enshrouded Chika. The mysterious figure appeared to her, sharing words of encouragement. It felt familiar to her, as if it was always watching her every step. This visit and the family photo being discovered afterwards would bring hope back to Chika. Since then, finding her parents became a very important goal to Chika, searching as far as she could to find any clues to their whereabouts and possibly figuring out the reason she was sent to this world. Finding her parents could provide the answers to all of her questions, like an omniscient god. But it wasn't a guarantee that she would find her parents so easily. Anything could happen as she searched, as well as anyone could happen. And Chika was willing to take the chance to venture into the unknown. But even as she searched with a new direction and even companions along the way, Chika still couldn't find any clues about where her parents are, let alone how she was transported in the first place, or why she was even here. She couldn't even figure out why her memories were gone. They were all things that weren't correct to her. That mysterious figure who had been observing Chika could only do just that, observe. Yet for a brief moment, in her sleep, the two noticed each other. It wanted to guide her somewhere, before vanishing as Chika woke up. The figure couldn't handle the suffering that Chika had been going through. Seeing her struggle to get anywhere and figuring out her past had been too much. When she really needed help, it finally stepped in to offer a hand. The fragments of Chika that would reveal itself to her as time went on. Her passion for music is what would drive Chika to become a VTuber to expand her influence, hoping that her parents will hear about her. As she continues her work, she grows her audience and makes new friends. The words she said that day of not wanting to be alone were being realized over time. She will keep making music for as long as it reaches people's hearts, at the same time discovering herself more through it. But no longer feeling alone isn't just what Chika needs to finally accomplish her goal. The mission to find her parents, reclaim her memories, and find a way back to her world were still incomplete in her journey. And just like before, it wasn't a guarantee that she would complete those goals. It's a mystery where life would take Chika. And seeing Chika finally achieve all her goals is the very reason that the mysterious figure, or what might just be the original Chika Haneta, guides the current Chika Haneta. And the possibility that the two will meet once again. But until then, she will continue to search for her parents and her own heart. A new day arrives. Chika awakens, remembering everything she had gone through. Her turmoil upon arriving in a parallel world, the mysterious figure giving her the push she needed, her friends and her fans supporting her at every step. Opening the window, she gazes at the scene outside as she wonders, what will today bring? And the song fits the fantasy adventure vibes that Dungeons and television shows. And with knowing Chika's story, the lyrics add an understanding to the hardships faced along her adventure, making a wonderful song on all fronts. Chika Haneta and everyone else did a wonderful job to make this song shine, but I want to mention that this is just what I think the song means to the anime and to Chika. The instrumentals and lyrics might represent something completely different to you. There is no wrong interpretation of the Cornerstone of the Wind, as it has no concrete meaning, but I hope that this would make you think about your own interpretation of the song. Oh, there is one more thing I want to go over. A visually spectacular thing that deserves a lot of recognition for the amount of work it needs, especially nowadays. It's time that I talk about Dungeons & Television's opening. By no means was making the opening a cakewalk. It took 4 months to fully produce the 40-second film. Yeah, 4 months for 40 seconds. That is a lot of time for not that much time. All 4 months for planning, resource gathering, painting, shooting, editing, and this doesn't include the many corrections to be made for mistakes. The opening for Dungeons & Television used an animation technique known as cell animating, which used a thin transparent plastic sheet, called a celluloid, or cell for short, that was drawn or painted on to create a sequence of images for cameras to take photos of to create animation. However, since the introduction of digital animation, this technique has become obsolete, and this is what makes the opening that much more special. The making of the cells for the opening were done at the Lopo Art Cell Workshop in Shibuya. They are a primary location for painting cells and learning about animation cells. They don't treat cell painting as a nostalgic artifact, but rather as a living analog technique. While many art stores started carrying less and less cell supplies, Lopo intends to keep cell animation as another method of production. They even feature a way to book a date to get hands-on experience on the process of creating a cell, and you can see the influence that Dungeons & Television had as they are featured on their front page, and for a good reason. Cell painting requires patience, precision, and most importantly, time. There is little room for error when it comes to painting cells, as you couldn't just undo a mistake with Ctrl-Z like you can on a digital workspace. You needed to be careful. This takes time to do. Time and patience to be able to create potentially dozens of animation cells. But what comes out of all of this is something made with labor and love. Once all of the necessary animation cells were done, they were sent off to the Osaka University of Arts to start animation. Then, problems arose. Pictures were looking blurry, and the control panel for the camera had broken. This had set back the team who knows how long. Despite all of that, they were still determined. They went with manual adjustments on the camera and pushed to see this opening finished. This is what I appreciate about the creation of the opening. They would never give up, even if everything seemed to get difficult, and they would eventually complete the opening after 4 long months. And what they saw was the hard work of many people who wanted to see this project to the end. Dungeons & Television's opening is a one-of-a-kind creation. The art, the way it was made, the music, and it definitely deserves a lot of praise and recognition for the amount of work that was put into it. And I hope the opening will influence other projects to start using cell animation again. I admire Bonta's drive to push the boundary of what indie projects could be. Never have I seen anything like Dungeons & Television, and it has certainly left an impact on me in more ways than one. It deserves so much attention for what it contains and what it represents. Not to mention that all of its media is free to watch on YouTube. So please, if you haven't done it already, go watch Bonta's indie anime, Dungeons & Television.